A little over 8 years ago, I started decluttering my things. I still lived with my parents at the time. I didn't know much about minimalism at all. I was just following my heart and the longing that I felt for simplicity. Little did I know, this change would improve my life for the better in countless different ways. I started learning more about minimalist living, and I have been applying the tools of minimalism ever since. Not only have I been a minimalist for over 8 years, I've also had the privilege of talking and connecting with all of you all over the world through Simple Happy Zen. And that made me want to sit down and film today's video because I'm going to share my advice for any minimalist, whether you are just beginning or you've been on this journey for a while. I already have many videos up on the channel where I share exactly how to declutter your home, how to become a minimalist, all of the things. So I will leave a few in the description box if you are interested in just learning more about how to actually start, where to begin, what to do, and all of that. But today's video is going to be a bit different because these are actually some aspects of minimalism that I feel are very important, yet no one really talks about them. And I think that that is a shame because I get questions about these things all the time. And I really think that this advice can be very helpful for a lot of people. So let's begin. Mindful decluttering is important, but even more important are the lessons we learn from it. I've talked about mindful decluttering or ethical decluttering on the channel before, and I think most people really try to do their best to do it. So we look into the option of selling something first, or giving it away, or donating it, or at least recycling it before we just dump something in the trash. And that is important because it really helps if we can give our items a second life and make someone else happy with them. But sometimes this can also hold us back. People often let me know that they have trouble letting go of an item that is holding them back in life, or is making them feel badly, or is just not providing them with any real value anymore because of the fact that the option of mindful decluttering isn't really there. So no one they know wants to have it, and donating or recycling is not an option for some reason. And so they have trouble letting it go, and they keep it in their home for years and years. If we want to live more sustainable, I think what matters even more than how exactly we get rid of one item is the lessons that we can learn from it and how we let those lessons affect our future purchasing decisions. Because if we are lucky, we have years and years of purchasing decisions ahead of us. And so if we can let go of one item now, if that can help us to prevent tens or hundreds of unnecessary purchases in the future, that can still help us to lower our impact on the world, even if that means that we have to throw this one item in the trash now. So my advice, see if you can declutter something mindfully and ethically, yes, always. But if that option is not available to you for a particular item and you feel in your heart that you just don't want to own it anymore, then discard it anyway and see if you can learn some lessons from it so that you can be even more intentional with your purchases later on in your life. What we don't want to happen is get stuck in that cycle of decluttering things so that then we can buy new things and then we can declutter things and buy new things, etc., etc. So ultimately what it comes down to is increasing the flow of stuff going out of your home and your life and decreasing the flow of stuff coming in. If people judge you for your life choices, it says more about them than it says about you. Over the last years of doing YouTube, I have had people comment that I am not a true minimalist because I still have this or I still do that. I have had people comment that I'm too much of a minimalist and I should just let go and live a little. And it's not just on YouTube, in my environment too. Sometimes people ask me about minimalism and they are open and interested in what I have to say. And others will ask me about it only to make fun of me and maybe tell me that I'm doing it wrong somehow. So my point here is that people will always have something to say about your life choices, but it says more about them than it says about you. I find that it helps to be compassionate and to not take things personally. And it is okay if people have a different opinion than you about something. And if they feel the need to let me know that, then that is fine too. So try not to make their negativity your own, because it's not really about you. You know what works best for you ultimately, and that is enough. And you know, there is no one correct way to do minimalism anyway. It is not a one-size-fits-all thing, and what works for me might not work for you and vice versa. So there is room for color and collections and mismatched items in minimalism, and it doesn't matter. So basically, you do you, and don't feel bad if people feel the need to comment on your choices. Enjoy the process. Minimalism starts as soon as you call yourself a minimalist. I know what it's like to feel completely overwhelmed and not know where to begin, or to have your decluttering motivation just kind of come and go without really knowing where it went or why it's back. So all I can say is enjoy the process, and you don't have to wait before you are finished with decluttering your entire house before you can finally start your minimalist life. Your minimalism lifestyle is starting as soon as you call yourself a minimalist, no matter where you are in your journey or how much clutter you still have left. Now that I am finished with decluttering, I only have to maintain it. So I do a quick decluttering round twice a year, and that's enough. And now that I'm at this stage, I sometimes find myself kind of missing it. And that makes me realize that I didn't always enjoy the process of downsizing as much as I could have. So my advice to you, if you feel yourself getting impatient sometimes, or you feel that you are not making the progress that you would want to be making, or you just feel overwhelmed, to enjoy the process and not focus on the end result so much. And don't feel like you can't start living a minimalist life until you have tackled all the clutter in your home, because you've already started. It's a lot easier to let go of things if you have a strong reason to do it. I think with all lifestyle changes, it really helps if you know your why and what you want to accomplish by living with less. And this way you can remind yourself of these things whenever you feel that you are getting stuck, or you're going through a hard time, or you maybe, can't make good decisions when it comes to sentimental or emotional clutter. Is it about creating more space, or saving money, or reducing your carbon footprint? Or is it about spending less time cleaning, having more free time, or something else entirely? It really helps if you have that clear in your mind. You can even write it down so that you can remind yourself of these reasons and stay motivated along the way. By the way, if you are enjoying this video, it would mean a lot to me if you could give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, because these things really do help to support the channel, so thank you. And you'll be able to see my videos every week. I share tips and inspiration for inviting more simplicity, happiness, and calm in your everyday life. Minimalism is supposed to lift us up, not weigh us down. It's funny how something as potentially freeing as minimalism can still sometimes make us feel guilty. And I have noticed this in my conversations with you. I've noticed it in my own personal journey as well, of letting go. That guilty feeling that kind of comes creeping around the corner sometimes, and it can really make it more difficult to enjoy the benefits of minimalism to their fullest. Life is too short to feel guilty about getting rid of things, and life is too short to hang on to things in your home, your own personal space, where you are supposed to feel safe and comfortable and be surrounded with things that spark positivity, inspiration, confidence, just because we feel bad about letting it go. If you would feel secretly relieved if one day you woke up and the item is magically not in your home anymore, and there's no need for feeling guilty because you're not the one who did it, then that is a clear sign that you can feel okay about letting go of it. And this also works the other way around, so don't feel guilty if you are kind of straying from the minimalism path and you buy something that is clearly just a want and not a need, or you keep something around that you are not using simply because you want to keep it around. That is 100% fine too. Be excited to share, but open to compromise. One of the questions I get asked the most is how to deal with living with non-minimalists. And that is very understandable because you share a space, you might share some things, and it can be tricky to maneuver. I have found that we can't make people do things they don't want to do. And another thing that I found is if we want to inspire people, the best way to do that is by being open and positive. So making someone get rid of something is just not going to work in the long run, and also they don't have to, because just because minimalism is right for you or for us doesn't necessarily make it right for everyone. So be excited to share all the amazing, wonderful benefits that minimalism has to offer, and maybe invite people to help along, make it a game, turn it into something fun, and maybe you will inspire people to follow along in your footsteps. But also be open to compromise. And we've talked about this on Patreon as well, where people shared how their significant other eventually also started decluttering some of their things because they got inspired. So that is always possible, but also try to be open to compromising, because you will most likely be able to find some kind of middle ground that you are both comfortable with. Minimalism is about a lot more than decluttering or the physical items that we own. Sometimes decluttering a certain category of items can be about a lot more than just the items themselves, because it's also about what these items represent in our identity. And so this can be very scary and uncomfortable to work through sometimes, because what does it say about us if we decide to let certain items go? Or what subconscious beliefs about ourselves do we need to work through and be okay with in order to be comfortable with this whole thing? If you recognize this, I talk about this more deeply in a video called How to Get Rid of Things You Don't Need. I will leave it in the description box, plus right there in the card. Another thing is that we can apply the tools of minimalism not just to our physical belongings, but to our life as well. So we can be more intentional with our commitments, our energy, our time, our relationships, our projects. And if you ask me, these things are even more worthwhile than only being intentional with the physical belongings. I could not live the life that I am living right now and that I absolutely love if it wasn't for minimalism. So see if there are areas in your life that feel crowded or stagnant or overwhelming, and how can you apply the tools of minimalism to that area of your life. Minimalism is not a magical solution. It is not going to solve all of life's problems. It is a philosophy, it's a mindset, it is a tool, it's a means to an end. But if you ask me, it is not the goal in and of itself, because minimalism makes room in our life for the things that truly matter, and what exactly those things are for you, that is up to you to decide. We can declutter all we want and make our home look absolutely perfect, like a Pinterest photo or a magazine, and still feel like there's something missing. And that can be a sign that it can be good to think about what you want to achieve by living with fewer possessions, because minimalism is the thing that focuses on less, and it frees us up to create more of what we love and what lifts us up and what ultimately can bring a lot of fulfillment and happiness. I would love to hear from you which things you now currently have more space for in your life through the process of downsizing in the comment section. So let's inspire each other. If you take away one thing from this video, let it be this. That is that minimalism can look however you want it to look. And sometimes I'll look at people who are more on the extreme side, and they are living as digital nomads from a backpack or from their car. And while I do think that looks really cool and I admire people who do that, it's not necessarily what I want out of life. I like to be comfortable, I like to have furniture, I like to have all my favorite Studio Ghibli movies on Blu-ray because they're my favorite movies, and yes, they're on Netflix, but Netflix might take them off again at some point. So it's okay, you can have 50 items, you can have 500 items, you can have more items, it doesn't matter. You can still live a minimalist life, a life filled with happiness and purpose and joy. So let it be your journey. Click here for tips for how to get started with minimalism, and click here for tips for dealing with sentimental clutter. As always, thanks so much for being here. Questions, comments, conversations down below. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.